Friends, hi, welcome to day 22 of B365, also including yesterday's reading, so day 21 as well, if you like. Apologies again for that. That was completely my fault. Today we'll catch up, so by the end of today we'll be completely back on track. Today's readings in Genesis, we meet Joseph, and Joseph we see was Israel's, or Jacob's if you like, favourite son. We see chapter 37 verse 3 that Israel, that's Jacob, preferred Joseph, and so there's a bit of favouritism going on there. Jacob obviously didn't learn his own lesson from his experiences with Esau of parents having favourites. He doesn't learn, and so he then has a favourite, which is Joseph. And so Joseph is the youngest, and he then goes around bringing all these bad stories of his older brothers to Jacob. And so Jacob then sets him apart from the other brothers. He gives him this multicoloured coat, or a coat with long sleeves, depending what version you read. And basically what that means is it was also set apart from all the menial tasks from the farming and all of that. And so, quite understandably, his other brothers then ended up hating him. Now, my little sister, when we were younger, always used to wind me up by going and telling my parents everything that I'd done, everything that I'd said, and that used to wind me up. But this is pretty extreme in this case, and so in the end, we see that his brothers plotted to kill him. And then, Joseph ends up telling his brothers about dreams that he has, saying that he's going to rule over them and that everything is going to bow down to him, and this is going to make his brothers hate him even more. And so they plan to kill him. Reuben, the oldest brother, saves his skin by saying, okay, let's not kill him, let's throw him in a hole or something so that then he can go back and rescue him. In the end, he's sold into slavery. And I want us to just stop quickly and see if we can spot the connection here. There's this guy who is despised, he's rejected, he's betrayed by his brothers, if you like, his friends, who then sell him into slavery. But he then goes on, as we'll read later on in the story, to become the rescuer of the people that had at one time been persecuting him. And I wonder if we can see a connection here with the story of Jesus that we're going to see coming up. On into chapter 38, and there's a bit of an interruption, if you like. We all want to see what's happening with Joseph, how he gets on in slavery, but chapter 38 comes along and it interrupts that story to give us a family tree and, if you like, some of the personal life of Judah, and also some of the desperate lengths that his daughter-in-law goes to get pregnant. So it's a little bit bizarre at the moment, but it will become more important as we go later on in the story of Joseph. We'll see some of the importance of what we've seen today with Judah. But on into 39, we see Joseph living with Potiphar as a slave. But it says that even there, God was with him. And so Joseph prospered and he found favour in the eyes of Potiphar and the people that he was working with. Then he gets falsely accused of trying to sleep with Potiphar's wife, and so Potiphar throws him into jail. But even then, he doesn't just throw him into the common jail, he throws him into the king's jail. So even there, he's got kind of preferential treatment. But even in jail, we see that God was with him and that Joseph found favour. On into chapter 40, we see him start interpreting people's dreams, which in the end will be his ticket out of jail, but not yet. The baker and the cupbearer that are in there, whose dreams Joseph interpret, they go into prison after Joseph. They're released from prison before Joseph. And I think if I was Joseph, that would be pretty hard to see. Joseph would have probably been pretty despondent, and just not knowing what was going on. It would have been a testing time for Joseph, and that's something that all of us need to go through. God would have used that time to teach and to prepare Joseph for what was going to come. At the start, maybe Joseph had a massive attitude problem, which is why his brothers ended up hating him, because he was going around saying, look, you all need to bow down to me. God is using this time to completely change Joseph's character and his outlook, and we're going to see the effects of that soon. But yeah, friends, don't despair. In times of trial, in difficult times, God is still going to be with you in those, and is going to use them to teach and prepare you. Moving on into Matthew, and we see Jesus in this passage. He compares the kingdom of heaven to treasures and to a pearl, kind of two parables joined together. And what those parables are saying is that the kingdom of heaven is of massive value. We can't even put a figure on it. And that it is worth any sacrifice, just like this treasure and the pearl that we see is worth anything and everything. And both of the parables stress that to get the pearl or to get the treasure, the person goes and they sell everything. We need to sacrifice everything for the kingdom. And also the treasure in the field. The guy that found it was out ploughing. He's probably a poor guy. He was just a labourer, and he's out ploughing the field doing his mundane day-to-day business when all of a sudden, kind of by mistake, he comes across this treasure and is blown away. But then the pearl is found by probably a rich man who knows pearls. He's spent a lot of time searching pearls, and he would have seen a lot of them in his time, but none compared to this pearl that he finds, this pearl of great price. And that one, if you like, is a little bit like maybe you've been searching for other religions, or you've been trying to look into this whole Christianity thing for a long time. And whether you come across it by accident, or you've been searching and looking and trying other things that don't add up for a long, long time, is irrelevant. The fact is that once we're there, either one is worthwhile. We get there, we find the treasure, we find the pearl. There's nothing that compares, and it is worth anything. It is worth our all. It's a good find. And then Jesus goes on to tell the story of the feeding of the 5,000, and that's probably the most famous of Jesus' miracles. It's the only one that we see in all four Gospels. And what Jesus is showing here is his power, that he can take what we have to offer, which in comparison is pretty tiny, pretty useless, our contribution, and he takes those, he multiplies those, and he uses them for his purpose. But also it fulfilled the Jewish expectations of a Messiah. They would have expected a Messiah to come, and that when he came there would be the return of this idea of bread or food from heaven. Later on in our Old Testament readings, we're going to see this idea of God feeding the Israelites in captivity with manna, how he fed Moses and the Israelites. Later on he feeds Elijah and Elisha. All of them are fed by God in the desert. And so the Jews would have expected that when the Messiah comes, there'll be the same kind of thing. And so here is Jesus in the middle of nowhere, feeding 5,000 people with this bread. So that's what Jesus is doing there. Friends, let's again be trusting that God is a faithful God. He is who he says he is. And the psalm, I've closed my Bible now, I can't remember the exact words, but it's basically saying that God's words are faultless. What God promises will happen. God is faithful, God is true, and God is with us even in the trials and the temptations. And also that the kingdom of heaven is such a precious pearl that is worth any price, and that needs us to sacrifice everything to gain it. Friends, enjoy your day. We're now back on track. Sorry for the long readings today, but I'll see you tomorrow where the readings will seem comparatively short. God bless you. Take care.